Okay, so for icon label, we need to make use of the React Native Elements icon. So React Native Elements is actually a library, and there are different components it has for buttons, cards. I accidentally hit that. So yeah, it has pre-formatted, pre-designed components for different React Native elements that you can use. So list items, etc. So I usually use their icon suite because there's a lot of icon sets available. And one of the things I like is Ion icon. So here it is. So it can be filled, outlined, sharp, etc. So we're going to use the map icon. So going back to our mockup here. So we're going to use the map pin icon and the timer icon. Okay, so let's get to it. So here, invoke icon, and it's a self-closing tag. Just get rid of the panel there. Okay, and it already gives you hints on what you can use. So the name of the icon that we want is So let's go back to the documentation. You want a pin, map pin. So if you click that icon, you can see its name. So how you can use it. Just trying to find the pin here. Oh, there. So so it's called pin outline if you want the outline version. So let's just say it's a string called pin-outline. And then, so there's a warning here because we're not yet done. Oops. Okay, so apart from the icon name, we should add the type here, and the type is which icon set we're using. So now we're using Ion icon. So again, as I've shown you here, there are different icon sets. This is how you use it. So there's a name for the actual icon name, the type, the icon set that you're using. Then you can customize it by adding color, reversing that, meaning the color is reversed. And you can add an on-press event handler for it. So we're using pin-outline, going back to the code. The type is Ion icon. And you can give it a size of, let's say, probably 13. Oops. Save. So it's still a question mark. Sometimes for iOS, you should add iOS dash. Let's see if that works. Okay, so looking at this, invalid prop type, you have to a value iOS outline. So that does not exist apparently. Let me just remove the word outline. Let's see. Okay, there. So this is the iOS version of that that map pin that we're talking about. So maybe probably this one is for the web. I don't know why it's different. Okay, so if you're on Android, you can just change iOS to MD. Okay, iOS dash pin. And then icon color. So since that's going to be applicable for any icon, we can just pass it Let's add an icon color of icon color of this same purple here. So this is the light purple, same with the header. And I want the icon's color to be the same as the background purple. So it's gonna be hash 6C5CE7. Okay, instead of dash, it's supposed to be equal, since that's a property. Okay, there. So we have an icon and our label is here on the right side. Yeah, so the icon has to go first for the label, and now it looks like this. So what we want is they should be next to each other, and it's center aligned. So we can do that through our modifying the styles. So we've imported style sheet on the top, and so you can add, here, add const styles equals style sheet dot create. So if you keep doing this, you're bound to memorize that. Okay, so let's add a style to the text first because it's too big and the icon is too small. I wouldn't want it to be too big, right? The text should be sort of like the same size as the icon. So say icon label style. Just say label style, not font size, say around 11. So let's just test that out. Styles out font size, and not font size but label style. If you spotted that error, congratulations, you're learning. Okay, now you can see the label icon label is now small as this. You can make it a bit bigger. The label can be size 14. This can be size 12, just a bit bigger. Now we want, of course, the icon itself and the label to be next to each other. So we have to we have to add a style to this view so that the container would properly format and align the icon and the label. So let's add a style here, and I haven't defined it yet, but you can just name it container, and now we're going to create it. Container here. Oops, container. What's happening? I'm trying to type const container. Don't forget the comma. And to make this, so now it's stacked by column, right? So if you want this to be next to each other, you have to change the flex direction to row instead of column. So column rather is the default. So if you want each component to be stacked next to each other as a row, not by column but by row, you can change the flex direction. We'd also want a bit of spacing between these two. So you can add an icon style just for the spacing. So icon style, let's add a margin right, because it's to the right. You can add a bit of space to the right of 2. So adding that to the already long list of properties for icon. Style equals styles.icon style. Save. Now it formatted because it's longer than 120 columns now. Excuse me. And now it's looking better. Okay, but according to our mockup, there's a significant space here. And then you also want, if restaurant uses this and there are multiple icons and multiple icon labels rather, you want there to be a space here as well. So you can add that space to the view itself. So we can add margin right of 10 maybe. So there's a space after this. Okay, so let's try to call two icon labels. So as you can see, they are stacked by column as well here. So again, we should add another label, a container for both icons so that they will be stacked by row instead of by column. So when we call both icon labels, you have to create a view. So the good thing about views is you can make it as nested as you want. So they're designed to be that way. Icon style, icon label style, flex direction, row. So it's just gonna apply to these two icons. Style equals icon style, icon label style. Now they're by column. Sorry, by row. Okay, looking good. Now you also want to make sure that all items are aligned center. Align items, align center. There. So as you can see, the text, so I'm just going to delete that. So the text will now be aligned center as well as the pin or the icon. Okay. So finally, in our mockup, there's a significant space between the name and the list of categories versus the icon labels, right? So it has to be at the real bottom of the card. So we can either add margin to our but we should always add that margin inside restaurant card, so we don't want to inadvertently add a margin top to this. So you can either add it in icon label or to the style for this category. I thought I added the style here for category. We have inadvertently save. Okay, now it's thinner. It's very thin. So that's how I see delivery apps. So the categories are usually like thinner than even the icon labels. Okay, so we can add that margin. We can add it here. Margin top 10. Probably too big. Okay, there. So now there's a significant space between these two and the icon label and icon. The second icon label has a good amount of gap between these two icon labels. Okay, so you want to be able to customize this. I think 14 would be okay. 14 is sorry. So you want to be able to customize this so that every time icon label is invoked from other screens or other components, the actual icon is different, the label is different, and even the color can be different, right? So to do this, we have to again access props. So we can allow restaurant card to define those specifics like the icon name. So the name of that icon is iOS-pin right now. The label is what's for pin? Pin is distance. So let's say 3 kilometers. And then So props are space separated just like you would in HTML. And then you want to customize the icon color as well. So just say color. So it's still a string. Okay, that's it. Those are the things we can customize. So that was name, the label, and the color. Okay, so you want to just remove this and add in those props. Name, the label should not be icon label. Again, all texts in React Native should be enclosed in, all strings rather, should be enclosed in a text tag. And if you want to access variables, you should use the curly braces. So add label here. And then finally the color. Okay. So we'd want this to be different from this. So let's just say this is 5 kilometers. Okay, perfect. Okay, looking good. And then you would want to access this clock thing. So I already looked it up. And for the clock, the name is time. So this is going to be time. So this is basically the time it takes to deliver that the product from that restaurant based on your distance. So it's 5 kilometers. It can be 30 minutes. Okay, good. So now we've finished designing our, excuse me. We've finished designing our application. Just checking if the color is actually reflected properly because it's not too obvious. And just as I suspected, the icon color is not changing. And there. So I used the wrong prop. So instead of icon color, it should be just color. Okay, there. So it became white and it became the purple that I expected. Wasn't too obvious from my screen. And there. So since I don't like repeating values like this, because it's going to be harder to maintain and change, so I can just add a constant here called icon color, and I'm going to pass that string. And then to access, again, anytime you want to access something, you have to use curly braces. Icon color. Save. Okay, perfect. Okay. So now we have successfully designed a restaurant card component, and it's also an icon label. So the same icon label JS file used twice. So this is why instead of copy pasting this same code in restaurant card, we just invoked a reusable icon label component. The next step is actually accessing and rendering all the list of restaurants around you from a list and not through some hard-coded values like we did here. So I'm going to share a list in the next video that contains all the information from 5 restaurants, and we're going to render that to the screen. So I'm just going to get rid of this hello world placeholder. And now you can see that this does not look good. So you have to add a bit of margin here. So like sometimes margin top could suffice, 10. Sorry. I'm at the wrong, okay, here. So in the card container, you can add a bit of a margin. Here. So it's not really like touching the top of that. So in the next video, again, we're going to render a list of restaurants using flat list. So don't go anywhere, and I'll see you in the next video.